Tonkatsu, yakisoba, and okonomiyaki are three incredibly popular dishes in Japanese cuisine, each with their own sauce. And while not exactly the same, they are fairly similar, as each is based off of the Western sauce Worcestershire. This Japanese version is quite a bit thicker, with fruity notes similar to HP sauce. So today, we're gonna make quick and easy versions of all three, concluding with a fully from-scratch version that we're going to label as tonkatsu, but can be used for all three dishes. The first sauce we're gonna make is okonomiyaki, and is the simplest of the three. Now, the biggest difference between the quick versions and the full version is the use of ketchup as a base, which adds acidity, spices, sweetness, and acts as a thickener. Soy sauce, Worcestershire, and sugar finish the sauce off. Again, quick and simple. The final sauce is a bit savory and has some umami from the fish sauce in the Worcestershire. For the yakisoba, I'm gonna use the Japanese Worcestershire sauce, but either works. And like the okonomiyaki, we'll also be adding soy sauce, ketchup, and sugar. The biggest difference with this sauce is the addition of oyster sauce, which gives it a slightly more complex umami flavor than just Worcestershire. The consistency is the same as the okonomiyaki, with the flavor being only slightly different. Lastly, for the tonkatsu, we'll once again be using ketchup, soy sauce, Worcestershire, and sugar, but in this case I'm using Mirin sweet cooking wine. But sugar, honey, and rice syrup are all equally valid in this, as well as the others. I'm also adding some grated garlic and ginger just to ramp up the savory factor. These aren't typically found in tonkatsu sauce, but are something I always add in mine. I would also normally puree these using my immersion blender, so they're not so, chunky. But this is more just for demonstration purposes, and that's one less thing I have to wash later on. And that's it. 3 quick and easy sauces. You can see now how similar each one is. But with those out of the way, and after taking some licorice tea to the dome, we can move on to the one sauce to rule them all. The only thing we need to do for this, aside from cooking it, is prepping the fruits and vegetables, starting with my all-time favorite apple, the Granny Smith. You can use any kind of apple, it doesn't really matter. You can also peel the skin off as well, but I mean that's just more work, and fruit skins contain so much flavor and vitamins. Not that I care about that sort of thing. Since eventually everything will be pureed, you only need to give them a rough chop. Just be consistent with their sizes so that everything cooks evenly. I'm also using peaches because they are my absolute favorite stone fruit, but you could use plums, nectarines, hell even mango instead. You do you. You don't need to peel anything, but if the skins are a little dirty, like my carrot was, just give them a quick wash in cold water. Then just give it the old choppa and add it to the bowl with the rest. The one thing that does need to be peeled is, of course, the onion. But again, just a quick rough chop and into the bowl. Now there's one more fruit that we haven't talked about yet, and that's dates. I'm using pitted dates that come in this large block, so I don't have to do anything other than cut the amount I need. Otherwise, just pit them first. And just like with the quick tonkatsu, I'm adding a little bit of ginger and garlic just to enhance the savory factor. Now, because we're essentially making ketchup in the sauce, we're gonna need a couple bay leaves, some ground cloves and allspice, and some grated nutmeg. It might seem weird, especially if you've never made ketchup before, but these spices are why ketchup tastes the way it does. With the prep done, we can start making the sauce. I recommend using a heavy bottom pot for this to help prevent it from burning. So for the first step, we'll be making caramel by adding sugar and a small amount of water to the pot. The water just helps to melt the sugar without the risk of it burning. Then place over medium heat and bring to a simmer. Now, if you've never made caramel before, heed my words. Do not stir. Stirring caramel will cause crystals to form and will basically fuck it up right then and there. So instead of stirring, simply lift the pot and give it a couple of swirls to make sure all the sugar cooks evenly. Once your caramel's achieved a sexy level of brown, carefully add a bit of water to break it all up a bit. At this point, you can start to stir without worry. Then to that, add soy sauce, dark soy sauce, this is optional and just for color, Worcestershire sauce, and red wine vinegar. Last but not least is some tomato paste. Give it a good stir until everything is incorporated, then add the fruit, vegetables, and spices. Then give it one more good mix. Since it's pretty thick at this point, but still needs to simmer for a while, I'm adding a bit of water to thin it out a bit. Reduce the heat to low and allow it to simmer for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, or until the fruits and vegetables are tender and the sauce tastes amazing as fuck. Oh, and if you've ever made tomato sauce before, you know the joys of having to clean up the millions of splatter spots within a 6-foot radius of the pot, but I promise it's worth it. To finish it off, we just need to puree it. Bay leaves never fully break down, so even though they are edible, I always remove mine. You can use an immersion blender to puree the sauce, but a blender will do a much better job. Use a ladle or spoon to transfer the sauce so you don't end up spilling any on you or the table. Hot sugar hurts. Trust me on this. You could wait for the sauce to cool down a bit, but pureeing things while they're hot yields much better results. Just be careful and always stay mindful of what you're doing. Now here's where I had a little panic attack as I thought my blender had died on me, until I realized I'm just an idiot and forgot to plug it in. To be fair though, who would have thought electrical devices need electricity to work? What a world. Make sure you have a firm grip on the lid and always start on the lowest setting. Small confined space plus hot steam and pressure equals horrible disaster, so be smart. Once most of the chunks are broken up, you can turn up the speed. If you notice the sauce is too thick to fully puree like mine was, simply add a tiny bit of water to help loosen it all up. Then continue to puree until fully smooth. When you take the lid off, open it away from you and allow the steam to dissipate before fully removing it as well. Otherwise, you can get pretty badly burned. The consistency will be similar to the quick versions, and you could absolutely pass it through a fine mesh strainer to get that perfect looking smooth sauce. But I honestly don't care that much, and it doesn't affect the final product in any way. Then either bust out your fanciest bowl and fill it with your homemade miracle sauce, or what I prefer to do is bust out my fanciest squeeze bottle instead. Tonkatsu sauce has a pretty long shelf life in the fridge, and cupboard will last for at least 3 months, but probably much longer, though I usually eat all of mine way before that point anyway. In addition to tonkatsu, which I'll be showing you how to make in the next episode, tonkatsu sauce is great on burgers, as a dipping sauce, and can even be used as a barbecue sauce. Oh, and since I didn't want to sit and eat a bowl of tonkatsu sauce, here's me eating the lunch I made while filming. Pork wontons with chili crunch. And speaking of which, if you'd like to learn how to make these, leave a comment below. If you like my channel and are interested in supporting it, you can check out my Ko-fi page. I'm launching monthly memberships this week for my channel with some fun bonuses at each level, so definitely check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. But as always, liking, subscribing, and commenting are the best ways to support. Thanks for watching, and stay awesome.